Yes, we are on, and our radar tonight. President Buhari gives a directive on the Naira notes controversy. But where does that leave the Supreme Court order on this matter? We dig deeper on the issue, how it affects the average citizen and the man on the street. The 2023 verdict begins right now. With your top stories. In a broadcast early this morning, President Buhari approves the use of old 200 Naira notes for 60 days. The leader of the House in the House of Reps says the policy of the CBN and the issues raised have put their party at a disadvantage. Governor Samuel Ortom has secured an injunction to stop the PDP from suspending or expelling him and INEC from stopping him from being on the ballot in the 2023 race. If you're ready, everyone, I'm ready. Welcome. This is 2023 verdict live on Channels Television. I'm sure Kimale in Abuja. Our countdown continues. It's just 8 days to the 2023 election, 12 hours, 57 minutes, and 54 seconds. And it keeps counting down by the second. By the end of this program, this figure will have reduced. We're looking forward to the next 8 days and what it brings for Nigerians. We are anticipating the opportunity for every eligible person in this country to elect their leaders, both the National Assembly and, of course, the presidency elections. So we're looking forward to that day. So if you are part of those of us who are looking and anticipating, keep your PVC intact and go make your vote count. So much to dissect tonight. If you do not have the Naira notes in your pocket and you've been struggling or even buying Naira, yes, I heard people saying they've been buying Naira because if you want 10,000 Naira and you are getting it at the rate of 12,000 Naira, isn't that amounting to you buying it? This conversation tonight affects you. And so tonight, we're dissecting the president's speech today in the morning on the national broadcast and also the Supreme Court judgment, the injunction, the ex-party order by the Supreme Court. Where does that leave the apex court order and what the president said? Now, the Speaker of the House of Reps has also spoken. In a statement today, he said, well, it may be the right step in the right direction, but it still leaves more to be desired based on the rule of law. We dissect that statement also. The members of the National Assembly also went to meet President Buhari, and they're saying that this may leave their party at a disadvantage. All of these issues we'll be dissecting for you tonight. But let's first and foremost check out some of your stories that may not make the headlines and conversation tonight in our election news updates.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Imo State says it is prepared to conduct violence-free, fair and credible elections come February 25. At a press conference in Owerri, the Imo State capital, the INEC Resident Electoral Commission in Imo State, Professor Sylvia Agu, says Commission has successfully distributed the permanent voter cards across local government areas of the state ahead of the February 25 presidential and National Assembly polls. And in Rivers State, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is stepping up its preparations to deliver a smooth election. The INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner is guaranteeing a free, fair and credible polls. The River State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Mr. Johnson Alalibo, during the joint press conference by the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, ISIS, at the Commission's state headquarters in Port Harcourt, knows that the Commission is doing everything to forestall any hurdles on Election Day. A group, Nigeria's Voter Watch, is calling for the sack of the Lagos State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Mr. Shagun. The group alleges bias and has raised concern he could compromise the fairness of elections in the state. Members of the group stated this position during an interaction with the media in Lagos State. The Executive Director of the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, Mr. Clement Wankwo, says civil society organizations, both local and international, and now fully prepared to monitor the 2023 general elections across the country. Speaking at the presentation of a simplified version of the Electoral Act 2022, Mr. Wanko noted that all observer missions and civil society organizations will work together to ensure they cover all 176,806 polling stations. 13 out of 14 governorship candidates in Gombe State have signed the peace accord ahead of the general elections. The event was organized by an independent National Electoral Commission in collaboration with the police and other security agencies in the state. The resident Electoral Commissioner for Gombe State, Mr. Umar Ibrahim, says the agreement was to ensure peaceful conduct of the elections. The deputy governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Abia State, Dixon Asonye, and the chairman of the Social Democratic Party, Chukwudi Bengowe, have collapsed their political structure to support the candidacy of the Labour Party governorship candidate in Abia State, Mr. Alex Oti. At a meeting with the Labour Party executive in Aba North local government area, the SDP chieftains pledged to work for the victory of Dr. Alex Oti at the March 11 governorship election. The Delta State chapter of the All Progressives Congress says it has uncovered plans by the Delta PDP to subvert the will of Deltans in the forthcoming February 25 and March 11 general elections in the state. Addressing journalists in Asaba, the APC Publicity Secretary, Mr. Valentine Onojego, accused the PDP of planning to manipulate Beaver's machine and cause crisis in the state during the election. The APC also alleged that the ruling party in the state are hoarding PVCs across all local governments to rig the election.
We want the chairman and the hierarchy of INEC to take active steps in order to stop this.
Osun State Women Presidential Campaign Council of the People's Democratic Party have urged Nigerian women to actively participate in politics and mobilize for the victory of presidential candidate of the party, Atiku Abubakar, come February 25. They gave the charge at the Southwest Women's Town Hall meeting for Atiku Okowa 2023 presidential ambition, organized by the Osun State Women Presidential Campaign Council, held in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. Wife of the APC presidential candidate, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, is assuring women in Kano State of free and compulsory education under the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu administration if voted as president. Mrs. Tinubu made these promises at the town hall meeting with APC women supporters as part of campaigns before the general elections. And Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State is warding off any plan to suspend him from the PDP. The governor today secured an interim injunction against the People's Democratic Party, its National Working Committee, Zonal All-State Working Committee, or his ward chapter of the party in Zorof Council Ward in Guma local government area of Benue State. The order of court is to stop any action that could lead to his suspension, expulsion, or any form of punishment against him pending the determination of an interlocutory injunction filed before Justice A.I. Iyomiman of the High Court sitting in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. Mr. Ortom also secured an interim order restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission from taking any action against him in the forthcoming general elections, where he is standing as a PDP candidate for the Benue North West Senatorial District, pending the determination of the same interlocutory injunction filed before Justice A.I. Intomiwan.
Thank you so much. Now you're up to speed with some of your election news update. This program is interactive, so we want to hear from you, get your views on the topics and the issues that we are discussing. So tweet to us on these handles that you can see right there on your screen using the hashtag 2023verdict, or send an email to us if we prefer that platform, 2023verdict@channelstv.com. And so, as the day goes by and we're getting closer to the election, the race is not getting any slower. In fact, the temperature is getting hotter by the day, and there are a lot of things that are happening that could swing the trajectory of this race. So let's check the temperature of things right now. This is the state of the race. So we begin with the campaign trail of the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, who was in Imo State today, where he identified leadership problem and corruption as a major challenge that has stalled Nigeria's development. He says if elected president, his administration will provide purposeful leadership and tackle all forms of corruption. Mr. Peter Obi disclosed this at a town hall meeting with the business community in Owerri, the Imo State capital. He also used the opportunity to visit major markets in Owerri, promising them economic stability if he gets into office. The presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is in Oyo State and has first met with Governor Seyi Makinde before he proceeded to the campaign rally venue. To what came to a lot of Nigerians as a suspense since we got a wind of the news that the president will be addressing the nation this morning. President Buhari has come up with a new directive. He said that the Central Bank of Nigeria to release old 200 Naira notes into circulation to coexist with the new 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira banknotes for 60 days. However, said old 500 and 1,000 Naira banknotes are no longer legal tender in Nigeria. He gave the directive this morning in a nationwide broadcast at about 7 a.m. Allow you to listen to a portion of that broadcast.
During the extended phase of the deadline for currency swap, I listened to invaluable pieces of advice from well-meaning citizens and institutions across the nation. I similarly consulted widely with representatives of the state governors as well as the Council of State. Above all, as an administration that respects the rule of law, I have also noted that the subject matter is before the courts of our land and some pronouncements have been made. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 Naira banknotes be released back into circulation and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 Naira, 500 Naira and 1,000 Naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 Naira note ceases to be legal tender.
That was President Buhari's broadcast earlier this morning. So what does this mean for you, that you need to purchase things, that you need this money to transact wherever you may be? You may be in Guzo, in Zamfara State, or you may be in Kaba, in Kogi State, or perhaps you are in Iyanopaya in Lagos State. What does this mean for you, the average citizen of Nigeria? So let's get talking about this one. Tonight we'll be looking at the political, the economic, and in fact the legal aspects of this decision of the federal government today. But there's one thing also that came up. The central bank governor seems to be a consistent visitor to the presidential villa. I was there also today, and this is what the governor of the CBN said to journalists about this situation, and he's also given his own directive.
President has given his directives. I have met with about 15 banks this morning later, and we've given them directives about how they should make all the old 200 Naira notes available, effective today. And I can assure Nigerians that this will help to reduce the pains. We meet with the bankers at least once daily to get feedback and the rest of them. And I think we should just allow this policy work. The pains, temporary pains are regrettable, but I can assure Nigerians that it will be well.
Godwin Emefiele, the central bank governor. Let's get talking about this one. There are those of us who are passionate about the concerns of this country, and those who are passionate about the affairs of their party. They all say they are equally passionate about what is going on. For those who went to the presidential villa today, the majority leader of the House of Representatives led a committee of the House to meet President Buhari. Honorable Adodogua spoke after the meeting with the president on the same issue. Take a listen to him.
are ambassadors of the government in their local areas, in the ghettos, in the streets. So we came to say to Mr. President that in spite of the presentation he made today, the national broadcast, in spite of the fact that yes, he has ordered the CBN to make some amendments, to take some new steps to ameliorate the hardships this policy has already entrenched into our economy, which is impacting very negatively on the lives and livelihood of Nigerians whom we are representing in the National Assembly. We told Mr. President clearly that we commend him for that, but it is not yet Uhuru. Central Bank has been directed to make sure they make money available. This new Naira note should be made available into the economy for the village people, for the SMEs, the traders, petty market traders, women in the markets to have access to. But how do we ensure that Mr. President's directive is actually being carried on the ground, on the field? That cannot be guaranteed. So we thank God Mr. President addressed us and addressed the CBN governor once again to our face. And we also got the opportunity to tell the governor of the central bank that yes, you must go on ground to implement the directive of Mr. President as it is.
That's Honorable Adodo Goa, Majority Leader of the House of Reps. Let's get talking about this one. Let's get some perspectives. Mr. Shagun Sowunmi is a spokesperson to Atiku Abubakar and the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. He joins me live here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Chief Sowunmi, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Shagun. It's nice to be here.
I spoke with you earlier today.
Yeah.
And you seem upset.
Not really, but go on.
What was your concern, actually, about this policy?
Thank you very much. Shagun, I hope we have a bit of time so I can pace myself.
You
I don't want to rush it.
Go ahead, please.
Nations who don't understand that most politicians worry about only the next election, but statesmen will worry about the next generation. They have the tendency to create an elite consensus that can stand in the way of their own progress. What do I mean? India wanted to do something similar to this in 2016. As big as that country is, as diverse as it is, they gave them only 4 hours. And in 4 hours, there were some pains, but that policy is done. Right now, the level of inclusion, the management of inflation and all that, we, Nigeria, have now outpaced India in terms of actual number of miserably poor people. Now, in our own case, this policy came maybe a little bit like a surprise. I can imagine the thought process that will make it appear that way. One of them is that, like the CBN has explained, and like the president has also explained, painfully, it is to take care of certain challenges that if you had not been careful, it makes it even worse. Why do countries change their currency from time to time, especially African nations like ours? They want to take away money that are outside circulation to come back and participate in the system. They want to manage inflation. They want to take care of counterfeiting. They want to make sure that criminal tendencies of the people to do, to hold money and just do all sorts of it. In our own case, we had a very bad history of ransom and all, what have you. Okay. The law has allowed the president to give the CBN direct governor the opportunity to do this thing. He has done it. Yes, everybody has to rush to take their money, if they have any money at home, to the bank. But didn't they give us time? My friends that I usually think with abroad, who are not Nigerians, one of the things they say to me as a result of the way we're behaving is that it appears as if at every point in time, when we try to push forward in the right direction, we allow those who do not have the gravitas of owning the sovereignty of either the territorial integrity of the land, the sovereignty of the currency, which is the legal tender, or even the sovereignty of the implementation of the laws, to begin to behave like kindergartens. And that was why I was a bit not so happy. I must say on record, I am now convinced, I have been thinking this for years, at least since the president started his second term, that in the history of our country, we've never had any leader, save for the Awolowas, the Tafawa Balewa, and the Azikwe, who has put the poor as the central policy of how he does things and why he does things. Okay, they can't find enough money to go around. How much of the run on wanting to collect cash has even been stimulated, induced, or created as a result of the mismanagement of narrative by people who should, speak some peace, speak some restraint, and speak some encouragement to the system? What's the biggest thing that is in front of all of us, apart from the fact that people have to eat? At best, an election that is going to take place in a couple of days' time. Shagun, honestly and truthfully, should we not be looking forward to an election where even the opportunity to monetize it is reduced? I don't want to win at all costs, and I don't want to win an election that is stolen or corruptly acquired. And you will think, honestly, you will think that all things considered, the party that owns the policy, which is the APC, are supposed to be the ones who will manage the rhetorics the most. It doesn't take a lot to incite people to all of these things. And then you soberly ask yourself, is there a desire for us in this country to always ensure that what may be right will always be abridged? The man gave us an extension of days to bring money, while anybody still is having stash of money at home. The man has now gone in to say, okay, if you are talking about the poor people, 200 naira kind of money will help them. He has yielded even that. And what we find? We find those who are not the representative of the sovereignty of our country up in arms, exciting people to be burning things and all of that. What exactly is to be gained? Is it that we are behaving like we're kids, or we don't understand that policies have some effect, and some of these effects are not so easy to move? I've always been critical of the central bank governor on other things, but the law says the president has the right to institute that. President Muhammadu Buhari, for whatever is what, has even behaved consistent to how we know him to be over the years. The years that the president was ill, you could see that a lot of people who even knew him then were a little bit uncomfortable. But the years that he has been, much more stable, we have seen some deliberate posturing, deliberate movement to rescue all of us.
Mr. Sowunmi, invariably, what you are saying is that you are aligned with the president and Mr. Emefiele.
I haven't aligned with him more than this in my life. I am so aligned with him. I actually feel like doing a carving image of Buhari and saying, yes, this man has now shown me that it doesn't matter whose ox is God. He will do what is right by the people and what is right by the country.
Is this the thinking of your principal, Atiku Abubakar, also on this issue?
I'm contesting and he's contesting as well. He's the presidential candidate of our country. This is where you see people like him demonstrate that they are presidential material in the real sense. They have been very guarded and measured in their utterances, because leaders can charismatically lead people in whatever direction we want to. But do you think our followers too are not suffering? Do you think that the people on the street are not part of us, part of them, and part of every other person? Is there any, even for the purpose of the political argument, is there any political party that would not be slightly uncomfortable with this policy? Why are we acting as if, especially then, why are they behaving as if just because the president is trying the hardest to follow democratic principle, he is now going to relinquish the sovereign authority to take those decisions? I think the president has done well by being firm. What I will add to it for the president, Mr. President, you have a duty to get the security agencies, the DSS, the police, the EFCC, to beam its satellite on those who are screaming so much. Perhaps they are even having tangential manipulation of the process. Because nobody, I repeat, nobody should be allowed to implode our country. Buhari has just but a few minutes ago.
Let me ask
why
you,
should Buhari not want to leave a legacy of free, fair, credible election? Was that not what Obasanjo, as head of state, become one of the greatest icons for the time he was?
let me ask you a few questions. And I'm asking, trying to wear the shoes of those who are perhaps in a lower ladder of the strata.
Yeah.
Do you have any of the currency with you?
I have maybe the 2 or 3 pieces of the 1,000 note.
Well, did you get this at the ATM or you got it at the bank?
You know, when they first told us we could go to the bank and take 10,000, 20,000, I went to the bank one day, I took 10,000. You know what I discovered, Shagun? I have never believed in my life that so little money can last in my hand like this. Things that I thought could not even be done by electronic money. I was amazed we could do it. And I started telling myself, wow, okay, this policy is a little bit uncomfortable, like any new policy, but it's not as bad as we're making it seem. We must manage.
That is Shagun.
No, I'm just saying.
We must move around from Abuja to Abeokuta and Lagos.
No.
Let's just for a moment. For those who are of the school of thought that there are unbankable communities, or the communities who have no banks at all. Do you think the time limit and the frame that has been, the frame of the policy favors them?
Sure. I've seen the CBR. Normally, I'm always very, tough on Emefiele on other issues. But I've seen them send people out to those communities, representative of, whatever, to change their money for them fiscally. Sure, what am I trying to tell you? And what I'm trying to say to, especially the members of the fourth realm of the estate, we owe it a duty to ourselves to always give our country the best chance it can. Yes, if we weren't saying it's not going to work, maybe people will not even be going to the banks to take what they don't even need. If maybe we just calmly didn't start trying to hoard and take whatever was not available, maybe the little that has been injected may even go round. But you see, when you have an indisciplined, extremely childish set of players who are supposed to have the high pedestal in terms of understanding policy and the implication of same, become members of civil society, some people call them social rights activists, and they are the ones screaming the most, inciting the people, only throwing up the problem. Okay, now the president has said, let the 200 Naira run pari passu. He has just said that today. Why don't we even think that it will work? Why must we always look at a problem or a situation from the negativity of it can't work, even before we tried it? That's my issue. And I'm saying this, Shagun, because, it doesn't take a lot to implode a nation. You just need somebody burning people in Ondo, burning people in Akure.
I mean, we have photos and videos.
I've seen some rushes too.
Those incidents.
I've seen some rushes too.
And you don't think that these are anger and passion of those who have been frustrated? Have you seen the queues of late of those who want to collect their own money? They are not going to collect palliatives. They are going to the banks, just for a moment, who are going to collect their own money. And I'm asking this question not because of Shagun Akimale or Shagun, for those people that you see at those queues who are wanting to pay their little hospital bills of 3,000, 4,000, but they do not have.
Shagun, there is no hospital that does not have the capacity to take transfers. Let's stop kidding.
In every aspect in every area of Nigeria.
Let's stop kidding ourselves. A hospital?
Have you tried doing some transactions online and it has failed you recently?
A lot of transactions fail. There's a lot of rush on it. Some glitches will take place. Have you observed our people? They would tell them that start, just even for the purpose of other topics and other areas, to see the behavioral pattern within the social theory of how Nigerians behave. They'll tell you that go and do registration. You have about maybe 1 month, 1 year, whatever the time of the registration is, go there and do it. Do you know what I have observed over the years? It is until it is the last minute before you start wondering that, why didn't you guys just create time early enough? Look, Shagun, Social theorists will tell you societies can behave in a haphazard manner like barbarians if you don't encourage them to do different. Let me share one small experience that will shock you. Some of my friends visited there for the first time. They're from Russia. And I thought they had enjoyed themselves in Nigeria. They went back, and I went to London, and I had this, a follow-up meeting with them just to ask them of their experience. So it took this guy saying it for me to get it. You know what they said? They come from Russia. That country is at war. One of them told me that. But Shagun, I said, what? He said, there's something about your country that amazes me. I said, what it is? He said, Nigeria is the only nation in the world that, and he has traveled a lot, very extensively traveled. It's not all those people that can't travel, He said that he has ever been, not even Russia, not London, where you will see people, citizens, who don't have a gun, will be struggling with police and be doing like this with police, even when the police has a gun. Now, does that mean that our people have zero respect for authority to the extent that they don't even fear the consequence of a gun? I said, how did you observe this? He said, the vehicle I gave them for movement, I went to the petrol station and they were trying to buy fuel. He said he couldn't believe the way our people were behaving. Just from that alone, I scaled down my eyes and I started to look at it. Nigerians, we are beginning to act as though we have no respect for constituted authority. And let me warn, when there is truly a breakdown of law and order of constituted authority, we're going to have a hybrid society where miscreants will not even allow us to be able to move. And why do you want to even destroy democracy? If you are angry with a policy, you can endure. In a few days' time, you'll be called to come and vote. The sovereign authority that we give the president is by the fact that the people have the right to vote him and transfer that sovereignty to him. But haven't transferred the highest sovereign authority through our vote to a president. We are duty bound to be understanding with him.
You may disagree with President Buhari, but on this note, you agree with him. You think he's done right to Nigerians?
I can't even imagine the amount of pressure they're putting him under just because of a well-intended policy. Imagine for a second that we have been here for some time. Today, some people want ransom. Tomorrow, there are other people want ransom. Imagine for a second that just because of this policy, how many of that is eliminated? Imagine what we both know as Nigerians. Some criminal elements in our midst whose only responsibility is to run our collective, we will hoard money and pile money like they don't get it. And then imagine how many of such money they'll be finding difficult to put back. Do you know the impact of the quantity theory of money, that is the circulation of money, on inflation? Do you know the implication on planning? Shagun, I am just as disturbed and as hot as everybody. Would we not all have relatives here and there who will be complaining and all that? We can't this, we can't that.
So, in Europe, because I had Senator Sowunmi here, and he said the new old notes should not be released and that the president should not shift grounds. And he thinks that those who are clamoring against or who are against this policy have plans to rig the election.
You see, I do not make allegations that I cannot substantiate. That's not my style. What I believe is, yes, the probability of people wanting to do untoward things exists. But let me ask you, Shagun, the system we run, the entire security architecture of this country, would they not even know the kinds of people who can do that? So if they had intended to stop those criminal elements from carrying bullion bands and doing nothing, we have enough laws for, money laundering to hold them. We're just irresponsible. Now, what I'm saying is that, yes, the president has yielded a bit of ground, but by yielding the 200 Naira, it then convinced me beyond reasonable doubt that this man truly listens and at the same time ensures that his heart is with the downtrodden. I was in Brazil a couple of weeks ago for the inauguration of their president, and I sat with him. And I was talking to him about many things. One phrase he gave me that is still, I still flip on it. Well, you know what he said? He called me Anthony. That's my Christian name because Shagun is difficult to pronounce for them. He said, Shagun, Anthony, the only business of government, why government must exist, is to accommodate the poor. And I go, what? He said, yes, because it doesn't matter what's going on in nature. The rich can look after themselves. And when he gave me that thing, it was like a dose into my spirit. And I started looking at Muhammadu Buhari from a different prism. Because I In the first time in this country, whoever did a clear effort at subsidy investment, what they call that their money they are giving people. It was offensive. That why they doing it like that. But the thought process that they are trying to give the poor something. But you know what? Tell me, Shagun, even if he did not consult the APC jokers, could he have consulted us?
Just let's take a moment. Now, if you are in any part of the country and you're watching tonight, I'd like to know what your experience is. Tell me your location. Tweet to me tonight. Let me get your views. Maybe I can have my guest tonight on the program respond to some of the concerns. And let's weigh whether the policy of government is favoring you as an average citizen. How you can do it is right there on your screen. I'm seeing some of the messages right now. You can even push an email. I will read a few and we'll chew on them. Sowunmi is still with me. Professor Odinkalu, a human rights activist, will be joining me next. Is our former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, and also we'll be getting his view on the legal perspective to this matter. Where does this directive of President Buhari leave the Supreme Court order? The Speaker of the House of Representatives has said that the President's speech today may be in the right direction, but it falls short of the Supreme Court stance. We'll be getting all of those angles after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. Otumba Shagun Sowunmi is still with me. I needed to give him call his title before I have his village people send me a memo about that. Chief Shagun Sowunmi, thank you so much indeed for staying with us on the program. It's a pleasure, Shagun. And Professor Odinkalu has joined us virtually from London. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight. I said earlier before we went, it's good to see you, Prof. There you are. I said, you should tell me what your feelings are wherever you may be treated. And I'm saying this, just put your location and just state your experience, and let's see if we can make sense of the situation regarding this Naira note. And I'll be able to read out some of your views, including those whom I've not been able to mention their village names on the program. So let's turn to Professor Odinkalu, who has since joined us virtually. Prof, it's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
One of the concerns, thank you so much, sir. One of the concerns here is the Supreme Court ex parte order that it gave, and how this stands with the President's directive of today. What do you make of this, legally speaking? Is there any problem?
In what manner?
So the Supreme Court is giving an order that subsists pending the hearing of the substantive matter.
Court. What was the order of the Supreme Court, really?
That the old notes should stay. And that the deadline of February 10 should not hold, because that is what they are, the state have gone to the Supreme Court to argue.
Is that what they said?
I guess that's what they say, except if I read the full judgment to you.
Now, you see, first of all, I don't claim to be a lawyer, as you well know. Because the kind of magic that comes from our courts these days, the fourth comes first. People who don't contest primaries become candidates. So I'm not going to come here now and pretend to you as if I'm a lawyer and I can figure out what the law is. It's a voodoo art. Only the people who practice it in the Supreme Court know what it means. So I'm not honestly coming here to talk to you about law. Okay? Therefore, I just speak as a citizen. That one, the Supreme Court cannot deny me. Secondly, the Supreme Court, to the best of my knowledge, has not said what people are representing it as having said, which is the old notes should, whatever notes should, because that's not the province of a court, actually. It's a misplacement of the capabilities and assets of a court for it to get into that kind of thing. I suspect what the Supreme Court has said is preserve the status quo ante until we hear the case, as in status quo antebellum, which is what the thing was before the onset of litigation. Now, the question then becomes, what was the status quo antebellum that you are trying to preserve? And this is where the laziness of the judicial system, as well as the limitations of law actually come to full view, because status quo ante bellum actually was the central bank's release, central bank circular on exactly when this thing should stop. So actually, to that extent, and I suspect this is the advice the president got, he has not breached anything. And by the way, as a supplementary point to that second point, he says you can continue to use 200 Naira notes. That, even if you read it the way you have read it, that still is compatible with the order that people are bandying about as having come from the Supreme Court. But let me say one thing finally. A currency system cannot be legislated or ordered into existence by a court. And every court has got to be careful about how it uses or abuses its authority and competence. Because when a court loses authority, as the Supreme Court sadly appears to be doing in Nigeria today, it is difficult to get it back. And that is a very dangerous place for any society to be in. A currency system is a promise backed up by the guarantee of a central bank. That is such basic monetary economics. If judges and lawyers in Nigeria don't know it, they should go and read up about it. Okay? If the central bank that guarantees a monetary system withdraws its support from it, you cannot legislate that into existence, because the trust that backs up the monetary system has collapsed. 1 million Supreme Court orders will not bring into existence a currency system that has lost legitimacy. I may add this. The core of a government's credibility, national or international, is three things: defense and security, foreign affairs, and currency. When people like Governor El-Rufai go around screaming and frothing at the mouth about this matter, they are essentially trying to tough out a sitting president. As you well know, Shagun, I don't have a lot of kind things to say about Muhammadu Buhari. But on this matter, I think Buhari is fighting for the last thing a government must fight for. And on that, he is well within his rights to do so. I don't think it is proper for state governors to go around issuing orders countermanding a president on exactly the thing that a central government cannot negotiate: money and currency. And quite frankly, what the governors are doing in this matter verges on treason. You cannot be telling a president to yield up his authority over currency systems. That is not negotiable at all. You can't. It is now, these are the people who quarrel with Nnamdi Kanu, and they're going ahead to do the kinds of things El-Rufai is doing. I'm sorry, that's not negotiable.
Prof, so let me show you some views on this matter. The Speaker of the House of Representatives today, in a 3-page statement released, and whoever that is flipping the pages, please move with me, because I will move through those pages. I won't be able to read all through the pages in one fell swoop. So, first and foremost, he mentioned Section 20, subsection 3 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007, which provides the statutory authority of the Central Bank of Nigeria to initiate and implement policies for the recall of Nigeria currency. Now, he went further to say, notwithstanding the subsection 1 and 2 of this section, the bank shall have power, if directed so by the president, and after giving reasonable notice on that behalf, to call in any of his notes or coins on payment of the face value thereof, and any note or coin with respect to which a notice has been given under this subsection shall, on the expiration of such notice, cease to be a legal tender, but subject to Section 22 of this Act, shall be redeemed by the bank upon demand. Now, he went further on the second page of the statement to say that it is disheartening that the central bank, that's in the third paragraph, has resolutely refused to admit error and change course in the face of mounting evidence that the implementation of this policy has been a devastating failure. Then I'll move to the third page. And this is a submission of the Speaker of the House, Honorable Femi Biamila. He says, however, the decision still falls. He said this is a step in the right direction, making reference to President Buhari's statement today in his broadcast. He said this is a step in the right direction, and I hope it helps curb Nigerian suffering. However, the decision still falls short of the order of the Supreme Court that the old currencies remain legal tender pending the adjudication of a pending suit brought by state governments on the legality of the policy and its implementation. It is not to the benefit of our country for the federal government to act in ways that suggest a wanton disregard for the rule of law. Your reaction on this, Prof?
I mean, he's the Speaker of the House of Representatives. I'm not going to contest his prerogatives to exercise his opinion. The point is this. He also ends this on a line that all of us can agree on, which is in all matters, the interests of the country and its people must be paramount. Now, Shagun, you've got to ask yourself the question, right? How many children have been abducted in Kaduna State? When last did you hear Nasir El-Rufai complain about all the killings and abductions happening in southern Kaduna, from Kajuru to Jemaah? When last did you hear him complain about all of the atrocities that have happened? Now he's jumping all about what? Cash? Currency reform? Right? The fact of the matter, you and I know that, is that this is about cash to buy elections. Let us not fool ourselves. And all of these politicians, including
is there any evidence to that, Prof?
The fact of you can shut me down on this program if you want. I want to go on record.
I'm not shutting you down, Prof.
I'm going to push this matter because all of us are Nigerians. No. You are not going to shut me down on this matter.
I'm not shutting you down. I'm just saying.
Tell Lai Mohammed to find me, let him find me. But you know, and you and I know, that this matter is about cash to buy elections. And the president said that much because he linked this matter to free and fair elections. Why would the president be linking this matter to free and fair elections if we're not talking about cash to buy elections? Why should the governor of Kano State, who was caught on tape, trousering dollars in bundles, now be the person complaining about this? The fact of the matter is these politicians who are jumping up about this don't have public interest in view. And Nigerians are suffering, okay? But also Nigerians are willing to endure this if it is the price they have to pay to ensure that whoever wins fairly on the 25th of this month becomes president. Whether it is Tinubu or Atiku or Peter Obi, let it be fair and credible, not at the price of whether it is El-Rufai or Masari or whichever governor has collected public money and wants to launder it in elections. It must not be allowed. Nigerians know that. If this suffering is the price we will pay to make sure this does not happen, that is fine. The Supreme Court justices will not be spending old currency. Are they spending old currency? We don't live in another country. If Nigeria goes belly up, all of us are going down. I don't have 2 passports. These guys don't have a better interest in that country than I do. And all of us are adults here. So let nobody come here and threaten us. They are going to do this El-Rufai releasing saliva from different parts of the mouth. I'm sorry. This program is going to get ugly because we are fighting for a country and these guys want to destroy it. In the name of politics, we must not allow it.
So, I mean, the reason why I was asking, because it's easy for someone to say the reason or the intention of an action is so and so. But if there are no evidence to back it up, then it becomes conjectures and it might be offensive. And that was why I was saying, if you have anything
on this matter, I am willing to be offensive on this matter. Let them deny. Excuse me. Can they deny that the purpose for which they have gone to court is because they want to preserve cash to buy elections? Can they deny it? Of course they can't. Now, by the way, you are complaining about contempt of court. You go to the Supreme Court to fight central bank policy, but you have not sued the central bank because they cannot sue the central bank in original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Can they? They know that if they were to join central bank in the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, the matter will have to start the Federal High Court, in which case this matter will not be an original jurisdiction matter in the Supreme Court. So you have joined central bank to dispose of a matter behind its back when it is an essential party, and you are talking about law, and you're talking about justice, you're talking about legality. Where do they want to jump off? I'm sorry, I'm willing to be offensive on this matter because these guys are conducting themselves as if they are the only people who have a legitimate interest in a country of over 220 million people. A country is at stake here, and we need to be offensive when we are battling for a country.
So the Supreme Court granted this interim or injunction on the 8th of February, and it's basically restraining the CBN and the federal government from implementing the February 10th deadline.
The CBN is not a party to the proceedings. Therefore, the Supreme Court cannot join a party in an order in proceedings in which it is not joined. I'm sorry.
But in the eye of the law, Prof.
Excuse me. The Supreme Court has invented all manner of orders. Hope Uzodinma was declared governor of Imo State. Now we understand that the United States has actually denied visas to our Supreme Court justices on the basis of judgments is given, and you are not affronted as a Nigerian. When did we get to the point where our justices of the Supreme Court have got to be denied visas? That being a justice of the Supreme Court is no longer good enough as a guarantor of your good faith and good standing as a Nigerian. Are you not affronted? And we're sitting down here talking about inanity?
If the Supreme Court, as the apex court and the Supreme Court of the land, is giving an order or is sitting on a matter, and in the same vein, the president of the nation gives a directive on the same matter, what kind of situation do you think we have entered into?
We have entered into a situation in which quite clearly the president is saying he has no respect for the Supreme Court. Does that not bother you?
But isn't that a problem for the rule of law? Isn't that supposed to be the guiding principle for our nation operating democracy?
Now, Shagun, look at this. APC governors met with the president, and they agreed to give the president 7 days. Within the 7 days, they sued the president, which means they did not take the president's word for it, that the man was saying he was going to do something in good faith on this matter. What that means is all bets had gone off. Basically, the table had been cleared. At the time, when they treated their own party leader as not worth his word, the man recoiled into his visceral mood. And you understand, I think President Buhari has made one thing clear. If at any point he comes to the conclusion that his power is at stake, he is not the kind of person who recoils. If anything, he goes fighting. And the APC governors, sadly, treated him with contempt. And he has decided this is the time to assert his authority. It's not something over which I'll quarrel with him. It's not the last time that this happened. By the way, it's not the first time this happened. The last time it happened was the NSAS. A lot of young Nigerians were killed. And these same governors were whooping. I remember the presidential candidate of the APC then saying, "What were you doing at the march?" So now, all of them have become whalers. Sadly, the application forms for whaling sold out long time ago. And we are not willing to admit El Rufai into the community of whalers. He is where he is.
Now, Prof, quickly, I revert again to the statement of Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he asked a question. He says, the decision still falls short of the order of the Supreme Court that the old currencies remain legal tender pending the adjudication of a pending suit brought by the state government on the legality of the policy and its implementation. When the parties return to the court, what kind of thing do you think will be playing out?
That is their problem. I'm not a lawyer to the parties, and I'm glad that the Speaker of the House of Representatives, my brother Femi Baja, is not either. So let the Supreme Court do its work. The president claims to be doing his work. But you see the thing. The two things are clear here. Number one, the central bank is not party to the proceedings, and you cannot issue orders against parties who are not persons who are not party to proceedings. So the central bank can carry on doing what it wants to do. If they want to join the central bank, let them apply to join the central bank. The matter goes to the Federal High Court. It's that simple. As long as they are suing the federal government and the central bank is an independent institution, there is not much that can be done about this. Number two, the president under the law is sovereign and has immunity from proceedings. What that means is you can't even issue contempt of court proceedings against the president. A court should never issue an order that it cannot enforce. Number three, if I may add, the old currency notes have lost legitimacy on the streets. Even voters who are looking to, that's the old 500 and 1,000 Naira notes, have lost legitimacy. Voters will not accept them as electoral bribe. Supreme Court will not accept those notes as filing fees. Lagos High Court will not accept them. Kaduna State will not accept them. Policemen on the streets will not accept them as bribe. Why do you want to continue fighting over currency that has lost legitimacy?
Stay with me, Prof. Let me just, I promised that I was going to, don't forget everyone, Chief Shagun Sowunmi is still with me here in the studio. I promise that I'm going to take a few of your comments. I really wanted to know what you feel, whether it's the same thing I feel in this part of the city, whatever you may be. And I said, put your location. Let me take a few comments. I'll come to you just in a moment. This one is coming from Emmanuel Daniel on Twitter. He says, if this is about votes buying, should Nigerians suffer because PMB failed to fight corruption like he promised? Olushola as Sowunmi Dazzle on Twitter says, I am in Lugbe FCT Abuja. The cash crunch is biting severely. Banks in Maitama, the heart of the city, have empty ATM as of today. With the president's broadcast today, we hope by weekend things will improve, especially if the commercial banks respond positively. Elere Samuel says on Twitter, he said the cash policy of the federal government is a very laudable one with far-reaching positive impact on our economy. I support it, but the draconian mode of its implementation is what I do not find funny, particularly on the masses. Atakata Abuo on Twitter also says, the truth is that aside the little pain people are going through because of this new Naira policy, majority of well-meaning Nigerians support PMBs on the policy in order to curb vote buying. Aldo Bashir from Lagos says, the policy is good policy coming at the right time. As Nigerians, I will appeal to our people to remain calm and steadfast as we shall be the one to enjoy the policy in the long run. Let me take another one before I go on break. Oluwashola Toyin at Oluwashola_Toyin on Twitter also says, the CBN policy, it's good, one we should all adjust to it. I personally agree with all what Shagun Sowunmi said. It really spoke my mind. Toyin Oluwashola from Ado-Ekiti. And this one from Richard Obado, he says, I reside in the Southwest. I was at the bank yesterday, but was unable to withdraw any cash when I returned. I went to a sachet water factory in my area to purchase some bags of water. I paid via app transfer. I appreciate that this policy can do to help our country. Well, these are some of the comments coming through, and I get the response of my guest tonight on the program after we return from this break, everyone. Stay with me, I'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation. Professor Chidi Odinkalu is still with us virtually from London. Chief Shagun Sowunmi is here with me in our Abuja studio. Let me get your reaction. I read out a few comments from Nigerians who were tweeting, and this one in our email, It's from Idris from Hadawa village, Misau, local government area of Bauchi State. He says, sincerely, our people are suffering and we do not have any hospital around to give us drugs. We need to buy from the local pharmacies, which they never accept transfers. Our local food and livestock markets that usually trade up to 100 million per week are shut down for 3 weeks now, and I can't confirm if our people can generate anything significant from it. Already our people are starving, but now we are in hell of it.
Okay. I want to, on behalf of all of us, truly apologize to the people that are really suffering. But let me ask you, Shagun. We started this democracy in 1999. We have not added 1 inch of land to the territorial space of Nigeria. We've divided the country into 36 states and Abuja. Can you please tell me why governors in those states will think that those locations do not deserve to have financial inclusion at that level? Before you sit down, you know, I've started coming to the realization that in this country, we have all in error assumed that all problems must sit on the head of the president, forgetting that all the other layers of the ladder, local government, states and all that, have some responsibility. I mean, if somebody is telling me in Nigeria today that at a time when the federal government and the communication company have linked GSMs all over, there are still states in Nigeria that have been having governors every 4 years since we've been voting, who are happy to have situations in the far corners of their state that are not included. That'll tell you where our problem is. But you know what, Shagun? I apologize to the people for this misnomer. We have created what I like to call a zombie federation. A zombie federation is a federation where, in my opinion, the citizens can see their enemies, the ones who got their money and stole it. And then it is the one that want to try and adjust things a little bit, that they will also allow these crooks to come and start inciting them against what is designed for their interest. We need to work on that. The other one is that, Mr. Buhari, President Muhammadu Buhari, you see, I feel that you are now truly working towards a sunshine and a blaze of glory in retirement. I'll tell you why. Let us look at Buhari for a second. Have you gone anywhere to find him building a hilltop? In all of the years that he's been in public service, have you gone anywhere to find him having a university? In all of the years he's been in hilltop, have you gone anywhere seeing him do like he's throwing water all over the place? Even if we quarrel with him on some policies, we must understand those policies that are painful at implementation stage, but are meant to stem our own inflation. They are meant to stem criminal element from running with our money. They are meant to stem currency traffickers and people who counterfeit the currency. And on the sovereignty, tell me, let me ask for me, why does it think that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and any constitution in the world, especially our own, envisage that notwithstanding the lawmaking component of the legislator, the sovereignty to sign is residing in the president? Why does it think that notwithstanding the highest court in the land, why does it think that the sovereignty to implement judgment is residing in the president? Why does it think that the territorial integrity of our country, why does it think that the sovereignty to protect it is residing in the president? I think men like Nasir El-Rufai should be told in clear terms, wait until the people vote you in as president. For now, we have one president. When it comes to certain policies of government that are exclusively within his purview, according to law, you let him have it. Right. And Prof is right. The act that created CBNs in the world know that there will be crooks in countries like ours who will think that once they make a policy that does not favor them, the next thing for them to go is to start looking for how to manipulate the law.
A lot of people who have heard you and listened to you and watched you on programs like this, that you have been a hardliner on the likes of President Buhari.
When the policy is
just
wrong.
for a moment, and now the way and manner you were singing his praises tonight, and the APC and some chieftains of the APC had said, there is the hand of the opposition in all of these. Would they be saying, well, okay, so that's the reason why Sowunmi is saying all of this.
So, do you want me to decamp so that you'll be happy?
No, I'm asking you a question.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you, at every point in time when I come anywhere and I'm asked a question, I try to answer in the best interest of all of us. Look, if the president if the act did not say it was his prerogative to do, if we did not confer that authority of, on the CBN to regulate these things, I'll be up in arms with him. But it becomes a problem for those of us that are the elite. And this is the elite conspiracy I'm talking about. If we see what has been designed, it may inconvenience me too. But in the long run, it's in all our interest. How would you expect me to now allow other people who should know better to now come on public space, run up and down the court, be pretending as if they are going to share sovereignty with the president on a matter that does not concern. And let me add finally, PDP has no hand in this.
Really?
They're just so entitled. It comes from this their entitlement mentality. If PDP has a hand in it, does Peter Obi have a hand in it? If Peter Obi has a hand in it, does Kwankwaso have a hand in it? Does Shore have a hand in it? What is wrong with them?
Just for a moment. Let me go back to Prof, and I'll come back to you just for a moment. Prof, on this matter, where do you think we should go from here? Because for those who see some kind of legal logjam in this matter, what do you see and what is your final word on this matter?
I'm quite clear on this. There is no legal logjam. I think those who El-Rufai, by the way, and I can't stop talking about him on this matter.
You keep mentioning the name of the man. Maybe we should move away from the personality and we should just stay on the issue.
No. This is not about, what is the issue? The issue is that some governors who have collected money that should have been used to develop their people have locked it up to use it to buy votes. That is the issue. And they are getting the Supreme Court involved. That is the issue. So I'm very clear about what the issues are, sir, and you will not derail me. And those governors include El-Rufai, and El-Rufai is carrying it on his head. Let him sue me if he wants to. Now, what is the matter here? That people like El-Rufai want to buy elections. Okay?
You don't have any evidence to that, Prof, do you?
I have evidence. That is why he has been frothing from studio to studio. The president said, in his own words, that he wants to stop them from buying elections. And that is why all of a sudden, El-Rufai has joined opposition with Yahaya Bello and with Masari and Ganduje, who was caught trousering dollars, don't forget. And I will keep saying it on this program until you ban me from coming here. And now you are trying to tell me that we are not supposed to discuss this as Nigerians because these are not political issues. And they want to pay. Now, governors want to, first of all, impoverish people, take money, estreat it, and when it comes to elections, they use the same money they should have used to advance people's interests to buy elections. And they say we should all line up behind that. El-Rufai has never obeyed one court order. And today, he is the person who is going to Supreme Court. This is the man who chased away a judge from his residence and was celebrating it in his memoirs. This is the man who bribed, and I'm quoting him in his own memoirs. He bribed the former chief judge of the Federal High Court, Justice Gumi. I am naming names. Stop me from coming to this program because we've got to stop this nonsense. He said he bribed Justice Gumi, who was an old boy of Barawa like himself, so that nobody would sue him while he was minister of the FCT. He said it in his own memoirs. And today he's going to the Supreme Court. And you don't want us to discuss these issues? Where is his record of defending the rule of law? This hypocrisy has got to stop. And on this matter, there are no good manners. I'm not going to come to your program on this particular matter and show good manners because these guys are acting in bad faith.
Well, Prof, don't forget that I invited you. I mean, as much as you are my very good friend, professionally speaking, if I see that there is a line that is being told that that could be legally a legal landmine, and not only because of what you are confident of what you're saying, but what the ethics of my own profession allows for, I will interject, and that's the reason why I did that. And
this is your program, and my program is citizenship. So you are doing your
but
work.
I have a regulator, and we need to align by the rule of law that guides our operation. And that's why I'm saying what I said, Prof. I'm not going to gag you. You have the right and the freedom as a citizen to speak your mind freely.
And
but,
I said,
but there is a rule that guides our profession.
But remember what I said. I said I am citing a source, which is El Rufai's own memoirs, Accidental Public Servant. I am not making this up in my head. I reviewed Accidental Public Servant. When I put that inside my review, El Rufai came and begged me to remove it.
All right.
Let us all be breaking bottles here.
Thank you so much, Prof. We are totally out of time. Yeah, thank you so much. Professor Odinkalu, a lawyer, rights activist, and a former chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. Thank you so much indeed. I thought I was going to come back to you.
Let me give you
we are actually totally out of time. I wanted to get your reaction on the new poll that favored Tinubu, and of course what...
Should I tell you one word?
No, we are totally out of time.
I know you'll be out of time.
No, look at it. Indeed, we are totally out of time.
We'll talk about
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, that's our show tonight, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. Bye-bye, everyone.